the field hospital on Garrison 7 was operating at critical capacity. Wounded from both sides of the recent border conflict were being treated in the makeshift medical facility. The ethics of battlefield medicine demanding that doctors save lives regardless of allegiance. Sergeant Marcus Webb moved through the chaos delivering supplies, coordinating triage, doing whatever the overwhelmed medical staff needed. He wasn't a medic, he was infantry, but the facility was so understaffed that everyone able-bodied was helping in whatever way they could. Sergeant Webb, Dr. Yamada called out, her voice urgent. "We need you in Trauma Bay 3, now." Marcus dropped the supply crates he'd been moving and jogged to the indicated bay. What he found made him stop short. On the surgical table lay a Vel'kari woman, distinctive pointed ears, deep purple skin now gone pale with blood loss. She was young, her armor ornate in ways that suggested high rank, and she was dying. "Critical hemorrhage, doctor," Yamada explained rapidly. "We've stopped the active bleeding, but she's lost too much blood. She needs a transfusion immediately or she won't survive the next hour." "So transfuse her," Marcus said, not understanding why he'd been called. "We can't. We don't have compatible Vel'kari blood in stock. We weren't prepared for Vel'kari casualties at this facility." Dr. Yamada's frustration was evident. "We've contacted command for emergency medical supply drop, but it won't arrive in time. She'll be dead in less than an hour." Marcus looked at the dying woman, her breathing shallow and rapid, her life visibly slipping away. "There's nothing you can do?" "Actually, there might be one thing." Dr. Yamada pulled up a medical display. Recent xenobiology research has shown that human blood, with proper filtration and preparation, can serve as temporary substitute for Vel'kari blood in emergency situations. It's not perfect, there will be complications, potential rejection issues, but it could keep her alive long enough for the proper supplies to arrive. "So use human blood. We've got human soldiers all over this facility." "It's not that simple. The procedure is risky for the donor. We have to extract significant volume, and the filtration process isn't perfect. There could be adverse reactions, potential contamination, unknown long-term effects. I need someone who understands the risks and volunteers anyway." Dr. Yamada looked at Marcus directly. "I'm asking you specifically because you're A-positive, which preliminary data suggests is most compatible with Vel'kari physiology. And because I know you well enough to know you'll make an informed decision rather than an impulsive one." Marcus looked at the dying woman again. She couldn't have been much older than 20 by Vel'kari standards. Young, clearly important given the quality of her armor, and absolutely going to die if someone didn't help her. "What are the actual risks to me?" he asked. "Honestly, we don't know for cert. This procedure has been done in controlled laboratory settings, but never in field conditions. Worst case, you could have severe reaction to the filtration process, potential contamination from the emergency equipment we'd have to use, unknown complications from mixing human and Vel'kari biology at the cellular level. Best case, you're weak and exhausted for a few days, and she lives long enough for proper Vel'kari blood supplies to arrive." Marcus made his decision. It wasn't really a difficult one. "Do it, take what you need." "Doctor." Yamada studied him. "You understand this isn't your responsibility. She's technically enemy combatant, even if medical ethics require we treat her. You're under no obligation to risk yourself for her. She's a person who's dying and I can help. That seems pretty straightforward to me." "All right, prep for extraction." The procedure was uncomfortable and took longer than expected. Marcus lay on a medical table while his blood was drawn, filtered through emergency xenobiological processors, and prepared for transfusion. He could feel his strength draining as the extraction continued, could see the medical team's concern as they monitored both him and the Vel'kari woman. Finally, Dr. Yamada called it. "That's as much as we can safely take. Begin transfusion." Marcus watched through increasingly blurry vision as his processed blood flowed into the dying woman. Her vital signs, which had been failing, began to stabilize. Her color improved from deathly pale to something closer to normal Vel'kari purple. "It's working," one of the medics said, relief evident in his voice. "She's stabilizing." Marcus felt a wave of exhaustion hit him. The blood loss combined with whatever the filtration process had done to his system was catching up. The room started spinning. Get him on fluids, Dr. Yamada ordered, and someone monitor his vitals closely. I want to know immediately if he shows any adverse reactions. Marcus's last clear memory, before unconsciousness, claimed him was seeing the Vel'kari woman's breathing become stronger and steadier. She was going to live. That was enough. Marcus woke in a recovery bed, feeling like he'd been hit by a transport vehicle. Every muscle ached, and he had a headache that suggested his body was very unhappy with whatever had been done to it. Easy, a nurse said, noticing he was awake. You've been out for 18 hours. How are you feeling? Like death warmed over, Marcus managed. The Vel'kari woman? Stable. The proper medical supplies arrived 6 hours after your transfusion, and she's received appropriate Vel'kari blood since then. Dr. Yamada says she'll make a full recovery. The nurse checked Marcus's vital signs, largely because you gave her enough to survive until the supplies arrived. Good, that's good. You should know she's been asking about you. Well, not asking exactly since she's still pretty weak, but she's been very insistent about knowing who the donor was. Command finally told her this morning. Why does Command care who the donor was? The nurse's expression shifted to something uncomfortable. Because apparently she's not just any Vel'kari soldier. She's Princess Lyra Valeth, second in line to the Vel'kari throne. The armor should have tipped us off, but in the chaos of the initial triage we missed the significance. Marcus processed this. He'd given blood to save a dying woman. He hadn't known, hadn't asked, who she was, just that she needed help. Command is going to want to debrief you, the nurse continued. Apparently saving Vel'kari royalty has significant diplomatic implications, but Dr. Yamada said you need at least another 12 hours of recovery before anyone's allowed to stress you with official interviews. Marcus was content to lie there and recover. He'd done what felt right. If there were diplomatic implications, that was someone else's problem. Except it turned out to be very much his problem. 3 days later, when Marcus was finally cleared for light duty, he was summoned to a meeting with his commanding officer, Colonel Martinez. Sergeant Webb, how are you feeling? Better, sir. Still a bit weak but functional. Good, because we have a situation. Colonel Martinez pulled up a communication on his display. We've received formal contact from the Vel'kari Empire. Specifically, from Princess Lyra Valeth, who wants to meet with you. She's insisting on it, actually, and her family is backing her request. Why? That's what we're trying to figure out. The Vel'kari delegation is being somewhat cryptic about it. They keep using a term, Tel'kora, that our translators are having difficulty rendering precisely. It seems to mean something like lifeblood bond, but the cultural significance is unclear. Colonel Martinez looked at Marcus directly. They're requesting that you be assigned as the princess's liaison while she completes her recovery here on Garrison 7. It's phrased as a request, but given the diplomatic sensitivities, it's effectively an order. Are you comfortable with this assignment? I don't understand what I'd be liaising about, sir. I gave her blood to save her life. I'm not a diplomat. Neither am I, Sergeant, but apparently you've created some kind of significant cultural connection by donating blood. The Vel'kari seem to take it very seriously. We're getting diplomatic and cultural experts involved to help navigate this, but in the meantime, you're being assigned to work with Princess Lyra. Try not to create an interstellar incident. I'll do my best, sir. The meeting with Princess Lyra took place in a private room in the medical facility. She was sitting up in bed, still clearly recovering, but vastly improved from the dying woman Marcus, remembered from Trauma Bay 3. When he entered, her violet eyes locked onto him with an intensity that was almost uncomfortable. Sergeant Marcus Webb, she said in accented but functional English. The one who gave his blood to save my life. Yes, Your Highness. I'm glad to see you're recovering well. You saved my life when I was dying. You gave your blood, your life essence, without knowing who I was, without asking for reward or recognition. This creates Tel'kora. Do you understand what that means? The translators are having difficulty with the term, Your Highness. Something about a lifeblood bond. Tel'kora is sacred in Vel'kari culture. When one person gives their blood to save another, it creates bond that cannot be broken. The saved is bound to the savior by ties deeper than family, stronger than law. You shared your life essence with me. By our oldest traditions, I am now bound to you. Marcus tried to process this. Your Highness, I just donated blood for a medical procedure. I didn't intend to create any kind of bond or obligation. Intention is irrelevant. You gave your blood to save me. Tel'kora exists whether you intended it or not. Her expression was serious. I am bound to honor this bond. That means I remain at your side, I ensure your well-being, I protect you as you protected me. Until the bond is fulfilled or death separates us, I cannot leave you. That's, Your Highness, I'm sure your family needs you. You're Vel'kari royalty. You can't just stay with a random human soldier because of a medical procedure. I am Vel'kari royalty, which means I am bound by our oldest and most sacred traditions even more strictly than common citizens. Tel'kora is absolute. I cannot leave your side until the bond is honored. She paused, and her tone softened slightly. I understand this is strange for you. Your culture does not have equivalent tradition. But for my people, sharing blood is not merely medical. It is a sacred act that creates unbreakable connection. You chose to save my life with your own life essence. I am bound to honor that choice by remaining with you, by ensuring your well-being, by protecting you as you protected me. For how long? Until the bond is fulfilled, until I have repaid the life debt through service and protection, until you release me or death parts us. Marcus sat down heavily. Your Highness, I don't need protection or service. I'm just a soldier. I gave blood because you were dying and I could help. That's all it was. That is exactly why Tel'kora is so powerful. You helped without expectation of reward. You saved my life when I was no one to you but someone in need. That selfless compassion is what the bond honors. Her eyes were intense. You may not want this connection, Sergeant Webb, but it exists, and I will honor it whether you acknowledge it or not. Over the following days, Princess Lyra's statement proved to be absolutely literal. She refused to leave Marcus's vicinity. When he returned to his quarters, she took up residence in the adjacent room. When he went to the mess hall, she accompanied him. When he resumed his duties, she followed. It was deeply uncomfortable for everyone involved. Marcus's squad mates didn't know how to behave around Vel'kari royalty. The command structure was uncertain how to handle a princess who insisted on shadowing a sergeant. And Marcus himself was acutely aware that he had a constant companion who seemed to take Tel'kora as seriously as she'd said. During one particularly awkward meal in the mess hall, Corporal Davies leaned over and whispered, "Sergeant, I know she's royalty and all, but this is getting weird. She's literally watching you eat." "I'm aware, Davies. Can't you just tell her to go away?" "I've tried. She says Tel'kora is absolute, and she's bound to remain at my side." Princess Lyra, who was sitting across the table and could clearly hear the whispered conversation, spoke up. "I am aware that my presence makes others uncomfortable. I apologize for any disruption, but Tel'kora is not negotiable. I am bound to Sergeant Webb until the life debt is repaid." "Your Highness," Marcus said directly, "I don't understand what repaying the life debt actually means. What would fulfill this bond so you could return to your own people?" "The bond is fulfilled when I have given equivalent service and protection to what you gave me. You gave your life essence to save mine, so I must be willing to give mine to save yours. When I have demonstrated that I value your life as you valued mine, when I have protected you as you protected me, when I have proven the bond is honored, then and only then can Tel'kora be considered fulfilled. How do you prove that? How do you measure equivalent service? I will know when the debt is paid. The bond will feel complete. Until then, I remain." Marcus excused himself from the mess hall and went to find Colonel Martinez. This situation needed to be resolved before it became more complicated. He found the colonel in his office, looking at reports that suggested he was already well aware of the Tel'kora situation. "Sergeant Webb, I assume you're here about the princess." "Yes, sir. This situation isn't sustainable. She's following me everywhere, insisting she's bound by this blood bond. I can't do my job with Vel'kari royalty shadowing me constantly. I'm aware. We've been in communication with the Vel'kari Empire trying to resolve this." Colonel Martinez pulled up diplomatic correspondence. Their position is clear. Tel'kora is sacred tradition that cannot be simply dismissed. Princess Lyra is bound by honor and law to remain with you until the bond is fulfilled. They won't force her to leave, and they're actually somewhat pleased that she's honoring their traditions so strictly. So what do? We adapt. You're being reassigned to diplomatic liaison duties. You'll work with the princess to help facilitate better understanding between human and Vel'kari forces. It's not your specialty, but given the circumstances, it makes sense to use this situation constructively. Sir, I'm not qualified for diplomatic work. Neither was anyone else before they started doing it. You'll have support from actual diplomats and cultural experts. But the reality is that you've created a unique connection with Vel'kari royalty through Tel'kora. We might as well use that connection productively. Over the following weeks, Marcus found himself in the strange position of working closely with Princess Lyra on diplomatic initiatives while she maintained her constant presence at his side. What surprised him was that she was actually helpful. She understood both cultures, could explain Vel'kari perspectives in ways humans could understand, and could navigate the complex social dynamics of interspecies cooperation with natural skill. During one joint planning session, a human officer made a proposal that would have been seen as deeply insulting by Vel'kari cultural standards. Before Marcus could figure out how to diplomatically redirect, Princess Lyra intervened. "Colonel Henderson, I understand your proposal is meant to demonstrate efficiency, but in Vel'kari culture, such direct command structure over forces we've contributed would be seen as suggesting we are subordinate rather than equal partners. Perhaps we could restructure the proposal to show cooperative command, where both human and Vel'kari officers have authority over their respective forces while coordinating strategy jointly." It was smooth, diplomatic, and effective. The proposal was restructured, the potential insult avoided, and the planning continued productively. After the meeting, Marcus spoke with the princess privately. "That was well handled. You're good at this. I was trained from childhood in diplomatic protocol and cultural negotiation. It is expected of Vel'kari royalty." She paused, "But I must confess, working with you on these matters is satisfying. You ask good questions, you listen to different perspectives, you genuinely try to find solutions that work for everyone involved. Those are valuable qualities. I'm just trying not to cause interstellar incidents. You are succeeding, and you are also demonstrating why Tel'kora chose well. You are someone worth protecting, worth serving, worth remaining beside." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "You really take this bond seriously. It is sacred to my people, and it is personally meaningful to me. You saved my life without knowing who I was, without expecting reward. That selfless act deserves to be honored with equal dedication. Tel'kora gives me opportunity to do that. Even if it means leaving your home, your family, your normal life. Tel'kora is my normal life now. You are my primary obligation until the bond is fulfilled. That is not burden, it is honor." 6 months after the blood transfusion, Marcus had adapted to Princess Lyra's constant presence. She still shadowed him everywhere, still maintained that Tel'kora bound her to his side, still refused to leave despite her family's requests that she return to Vel'kari space. But the dynamic had evolved. They worked well together on diplomatic initiatives. They developed a comfortable rapport that made the constant proximity less awkward. And Marcus had to admit that having someone with her knowledge and skills contributing to human-Vel'kari relations was valuable. During a diplomatic reception, a Vel'kari noble approached Marcus with obvious curiosity. "Sergeant Webb, I must ask, how does a human soldier earn Tel'kora from Vel'kari royalty? Such bonds are sacred and rare even among our own people." "I donated blood during a medical emergency," Marcus replied. "I didn't know about Tel'kora at the time. I just wanted to help. That is precisely why Tel'kora chose you. The bond recognizes selfless compassion. Princess Lyra is bound to you because you valued her life without knowing her worth by any standard, except that she was a person who needed help." The noble paused. "You should know, there are some among our people who question whether Tel'kora should apply to bonds between species, who suggest the princess dishonors herself by remaining bound to a human. But she has made her position clear. Tel'kora is absolute regardless of species, and she will honor it until death or until the bond is fulfilled." After the noble moved away, Marcus turned to Princess Lyra. "I didn't know there was controversy about this among your people." There is always controversy about change or about honoring traditions in new contexts. But Tel'kora is older than our current political structures, older than our spacefaring civilization. The sacred traditions transcend political convenience. You're facing criticism for staying with me. I am facing questions about whether ancient bonds apply across species lines. I answer those questions by honoring Tel'kora exactly as our traditions demand. That will either satisfy the critics or it won't, but I will not dishonor the bond regardless of political pressure. The true test of Tel'kora came during a crisis 8 months after the original blood transfusion. A diplomatic mission to a contested border region went badly wrong. What was supposed to be peaceful negotiation turned into an ambush. Marcus and Princess Lyra, who had both been part of the diplomatic team, found themselves pinned down under fire along with several other personnel. During the firefight, Marcus was focused on covering the evacuation of wounded personnel when he failed to notice a hostile fighter flanking their position. Princess Lyra saw the threat. Without hesitation, she threw herself between Marcus and the incoming fire, taking hits that would have killed him. She went down hard, her armor absorbing some of the damage but not all of it. Marcus killed the hostile fighter and immediately moved to Princess Lyra's side. "Medic, I need a medic now." She was badly wounded, the same kind of critical hemorrhage she'd suffered in the original battle that had created Tel'kora. The irony wasn't lost on Marcus as he applied pressure to her wounds, trying to stem bleeding that was far too severe. "You threw yourself in front of me," Marcus said, his voice tight with stress as he worked to keep her alive. "Why would you do that?" "Tel'kora," she managed, her voice weak but clear. "I am bound to protect you, to give my life for yours if necessary. This is what the bond means. You're a princess. Your life matters to your entire empire. And you gave your blood to save me when I was no one to you but someone who needed help. My life matters because you chose to value it. I honor that choice by valuing yours equally. This is Tel'kora." The medics arrived and began emergency treatment. This time, there was compatible Vel'kari blood available, and the medical team was prepared for exactly this kind of trauma. But Marcus stayed with her through the treatment, through the evacuation to medical facilities, through the surgery that saved her life. When she finally stabilized and regained consciousness, he was sitting beside her recovery bed. "You stayed," she said, her voice still weak. "Of course I stayed. You took hits meant for me. You almost died protecting me. That is what Tel'kora demanded. I had to be willing to give my life for yours as you gave yours for mine. That is how the bond is fulfilled." "Is it fulfilled now? You protected me, you risked your life for mine. Does that mean Tel'kora is complete?" Princess Lyra was quiet for a long moment. "Tel'kora is transformed. The debt is repaid. I have demonstrated that I value your life as you valued mine. The sacred obligation is fulfilled." Marcus felt relief. She could return to her people now, could resume her life without being bound to constant proximity to him. But Princess Lyra continued, "The bond is fulfilled, but I choose to remain. You don't have to. Tel'kora is complete, you said so yourself. Tel'kora obligated me to stay. Now I choose to stay. The bond that began as sacred duty has become genuine partnership. You have become someone I value beyond obligation, someone whose presence and perspective I appreciate, someone I would choose to work beside even without Tel'kora compelling it." She looked at him directly. "You gave your blood to save my life without knowing who I was. I remained at your side because sacred tradition demanded it. But over these months, we have built something more than obligation. We have built respect, trust, effective partnership. I wish to continue that even though the formal bond is fulfilled." Marcus processed this. "So you're choosing to stay, not because you have to, but because you want to?" "Yes, if you will accept that choice. I've adapted to your constant presence over the past 8 months. I think I can manage continuing to work together." Marcus paused. Though maybe with slightly less literal shadowing, now that Tel'kora doesn't require constant proximity. That seems reasonable. The bond is fulfilled. We can build something new without the formal constraints of sacred obligation. 3 years after Marcus donated blood to save a dying Vel'kari princess, the human Vel'kari alliance had grown significantly stronger, and Marcus and Princess Lyra had become recognized as effective diplomatic partners whose unique relationship helped bridge cultural divides. The Tel'kora bond that had forced Princess Lyra to remain at Marcus's side was acknowledged as fulfilled. She had protected him at risk of her own life, had demonstrated that she valued him as he had valued her. But she had chosen to remain anyway, transforming sacred obligation into genuine partnership. They worked together coordinating diplomatic initiatives, facilitating cultural exchange, and helping both species better understand each other. Their partnership was cited as example of how deep connection could form across species lines, how sacred traditions could adapt to new contexts, how obligation could evolve into choice. During one interview about their work, a reporter asked Princess Lyra, "You've said that Tel'kora is fulfilled, that you're no longer obligated to remain with Sergeant Webb, yet you continue to work closely with him. Why?" "Because what began as sacred obligation became genuine partnership. Marcus gave his blood to save my life when I was no one to him, but someone in need. Tel'kora bound me to his side to repay that debt. But in fulfilling that bond, I discovered someone worth remaining beside even without obligation. We work well together. We understand each other. We have built trust and respect that transcends the formal bond that brought us together." The reporter turned to Marcus, "And from your perspective, you didn't ask for Tel'kora, didn't know that donating blood would create sacred bond. Do you ever regret the choice to save her?" "Never. I gave blood because someone was dying and I could help. That created complications I didn't anticipate, but it also created partnership that's been valuable both professionally and personally. If faced with the same choice again, I'd make it without hesitation." Years later, when historians studied the human Vel'kari alliance, they would cite Tel'kora between Marcus Webb and Princess Lyra Valeth as significant cultural bridge moment. They would analyze the diplomatic implications, the cultural exchanges that flowed from their partnership, the ways their collaboration helped both species understand each other better. But they would miss the simpler truth. Marcus had given blood to save a dying woman because she needed help. She had remained at his side because sacred tradition demanded it. And together, they had transformed obligation into genuine partnership that honored both the bond that brought them together and the choice to remain together even after that bond was fulfilled. Sometimes the deepest connections begin with simple compassion. Sometimes sacred obligations evolve into genuine choice. And sometimes a single act of selfless courage can create loyalty that transcends species, rank, and destiny. Marcus had donated his blood to save a dying princess. She had refused to leave his side, honoring Tel'kora until the debt was repaid. And then she had chosen to stay anyway, transforming sacred duty into genuine partnership. That choice, to remain not because tradition demanded it, but because genuine connection warranted it, proved more powerful than any formal bond could ever be.